this is Frode and welcome back to Actualize Notes TV. Today we have another great book, The Memorabilia by Xenophon. The Memorabilia. Xenophon was a pupil of Socrates, you know, the ancient philosopher whom we all know by now, right? So he was a pupil of Socrates and he marched with the Spartans and he was later exiled from Athens. And as I reflect on these texts from these ancient texts, like those of Confucius, the Analects of Confucius, the Discourses and Gorion of Epictetus, and the Memorabilia of Socrates, written down by Xenophon, I can't help but feel truly grateful for these students who have taken the time to put their teachers into text and into writing. Because if they hadn't done that 2,500 years ago, we wouldn't have access to it. It might have all been lost. They're practical wisdom that we can apply to our lives. So, as I was reading this book, I couldn't help but feel that I was having a personal coaching session with Socrates. Because it's, we're going to look into the conversations that Socrates had with his pupils, trying to show them what they believed that was not true and was not healthy for them, and converting them over to what was truly good and what was healthy for them. So if you're into a personal coaching session with Socrates, I think you'll highly love the book. And what better idea to start off with than know thyself, of course. So Socrates was talking to one of these young people, and he asked him whether he had ever been to Delphi, at a holy place, and seen the inscription, "Know thyself." And of course the student had seen that text. And then Socrates asked him, but did you ever stop to really think about who you really were and what you were all about when you read that? Or did you just read it and go straight past it? And now I ask you the same. When, of course, you've seen "Know thyself," the quote that we all love, right? But did you stop to think about who you really were, what you were all about? And Socrates gives us some guiding lines. The person who knows himself knows what he wants, or what she wants. And they know what's good goals to pursue in life, and what's bad. What's good ways to pursue those goals, what are bad ways to pursue those goals. And the person who doesn't know him or herself doesn't know what they want. It's pretty much, I make a distinction in the note I wrote between Brian Johnson's A Philosopher's Note and this book, because there he talks about the victim and the creator. The creator knows what she wants. The victim doesn't. It's pretty much the difference between the person who knows herself and who doesn't know herself. And one of the prime ways to start knowing yourself more is, of course, to know what you want. What are your goals for 1, 5, 10, 50 years into the future that are really authentically those ones you want to reach? And then pursue philosophy. Philosophy. And of course, most of us get an image into our mind of this old, tardy person with a long white beard who is boring and monotonous when you think of the word philosophy, but philosophy is all about how to live, learning how to live. And the best ways to do that is, of course, to read books like these of ancient wisdom and personal development, self-help, whatever, taking good information like these videos where I give you practical ideas to apply to your life, and from whomever you do it, pursue philosophy. Because that will help you gain distinctions between what's really good in life and what's really bad in life. What will really make you happy and what will give you only short-term happiness. Which leads us to our next big idea, to think about that. How are you going to know thyself more and more through pursuing philosophy? Next big idea, Hercules plus virtue. When Hercules, you know, the strong guy from Greek history or mythology, who was one of the most revered people of history, when he approached manhood, he had two choices in life, two paths he could walk down. and because it was going to be really clear whether he would choose the path of virtue or the path of vice. So he noticed that this was a pretty important choice. So he sat on a rock somewhere, or whatever, and he started thinking to himself, which path should he take? The path of virtue, of hard work and long-term happiness through persistence and doing the things we know we need to do day in and day out, or the path of vice, of immediate gratification all the time and only caring about pleasures and immediate gratification and not about the long-term stuff. So, when he did that, he suddenly saw two beautiful women coming walking toward him. And one of the women he could clearly see was truly beautiful and authentically good in herself. The other woman seemed a bit scrappy and a bit staged, a bit fake. So when Virtue, the truly beautiful woman, was coming and was approaching Hercules first, suddenly Vice started running toward him and trying to persuade him to follow the follow the path of vice. To live the rest of his life in immediate gratification, always seeking pleasures, never anything that's truly good and satisfying over the long term. But then he asked her, what's your name? And she said, my friends call me Happiness. But those who hate me, they call me Vice. And something else, not so good. And those people who hate vice are the people who are virtuous, who know the difference between good and bad in life. Long-term and short-term happiness. And of course, we gotta have short-term happiness once in a while to enjoy life sometimes. But we want to focus more and more on the path of virtue. Hercules chose the path of virtue. And you? By the way, this is something the psychotherapist Donald Robertson talks about in his book, The Philosophy of Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, where he compares modern psychotherapy and ancient Stoicism. And he calls it the Pythagorean fork. That's basically the path you can choose between error or excellence. In the 8th century BC, the poet Hesiod called it via mortis, death, or via vitae, life. Again, what's your path? And how can you step up to your potential up a little bit more today? Do one of those things you know you need to be doing today, live a good life, but that you aren't quite doing right now. Our next big idea is practice. This is a really cool idea. Xenophon tells us that somebody asked Socrates whether he believed that courage was just a gift of nature, something you were born with, or whether it was something that you could develop. And Socrates, he acknowledged that yes, somebody do have courage in their souls, just like somebody are more predisposition to being stronger than other people. But even though of those facts, he truly believed that anyone can develop their abilities and develop courage through practice and learning how to be courageous and doing courageous acts. This was a really cool distinction, because Socrates lived about the 5th and 4th century BC, and 300 to 400 years before that, a guy named Lycurgus, who was the ancient lawgiver in Sparta. The ancient lawgiver in Sparta, you know, the warrior state which pretty much dominated back in the time. He was the ancient lawgiver of Sparta and concluded after an experiment that education is more effective than birth for producing noble behavior. Education, or learning, practice, hard work, and birth, or our genes, what we're just born with. And what it did was, he take two puppies born from the same mother dog and father dog, and these were hunting dogs. So what he would do, he would breed one of the dogs in life of luxury. It could just stay inside whenever it wanted, eat whatever it wanted, do whatever it wanted. And the other one was trained for hunting. Then he put them into the arena and showed before all the people how this experiment would turn out. So there the two puppies were. The one brought up in luxury, the one in training. Born from the same parents, but they were trained differently. And then, in the arena, there were a bone and there was a hair that was let loose. And then they would see, when they let loose the dogs, what they would run for. And of course, the one bred up in luxury went straight for the bone, the pleasure, immediate pleasure without any hard work. The one bred up for hunting killed the hare and caught that one. And that's when he concluded that, do you see now how education is more noble than birth for producing noble behavior? And I get chills as I talk about this because it's so cool to see the connections between 3,000 years ago, almost, and now. Because a modern researcher called Carol Dweck in the book Mindset outlines the fixed, or the birth, and the growth, or the education mindset. Fixed mindset says that you simply have what you're born with. You either have it or you don't. You can't develop your abilities to greater extents. But growth mindset says that you can develop your qualities to some really great levels if you put in effort. So you can check out our videos for more on that, on mindset. But for now, know that you can develop your abilities to extraordinary extents through effort and practice, no matter whose child you are, what genes you have. Just get clear on what is it that you want to be truly great at. Figure out what you need to do every single day to practice at becoming that good. Then do it daily. Fourth big idea, envy. Socrates says that, what was this about again? Yes, talks about envy. And envy is simply the pain we feel at the successes of our friends. And let me ask you about something. How rational and reasonable does it sound to you that when one of your friends, those who are most dear to you, that you love, and you really love, when they feel happy, why would you want to feel pain at their happiness? So, oh, they're so happy, and oh, you're grumbling because of all the happiness. Just see how happy they are. And that's envy, and it's pretty much instinctive for all of us. Why? Because we negatively compare ourselves to them. We think that, oh, since they are happy, there's not so much happiness left in the world for me to have. Self-Actualize Bemirsky talks about Self-Actualize Bemirsky. She is a scientist. She is a leading researcher on the science of happiness. And she tells us that one of the best ways to reach the goal of becoming depressed is to compare yourself negatively to other people. Especially spend a lot of time on social media, so looking at the perfect pictures of your friends and comparing your life to theirs, which is really a staged setup of how their life is that second, but maybe not their life in general. So a better thing to do than to feel envy at the successes of our friends when things are going really well for them is to celebrate the successes. Barbara Fredrickson talks about this in Love 2.0, and she says that it's much better to imagine yourself giving a high five to your friends than in envying them and feeling bad about yourself when things are going well. And that's what I'm doing, by the way. Every time I see a person smiling or things are seeming like it's going pretty well, I imagine myself doing a high five, even if they look surly when looking at me. Which brings us to our next big idea, souls in pain. But first, are you ready to celebrate Are you ready to celebrate the successes of your friends? Alright, souls in pain. Once, there came a guy up to Socrates and expressed how furious he was that when he said good day to a person, that person did not say good day back. Pretty fun how people 2,500 years ago had the same problems as us, right? And then Socrates asked, it's something to laugh at. Because just like we don't feel angry when we meet people who have physical injuries, but we do feel angry when they have pain in their soul. Because when people treat you badly, it's just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. The worse they treat you, the worse they feel about themselves. This is a really great distinction to have as you're meeting people on the streets and you're conversing with people. And I wasn't going to add this idea to the note and the video, but when I was on my daily morning trail run yesterday, I met a woman, I think, and I said, "Hey!" And she just looked like this at me and didn't say hey at all. And instantly I got an image of this story of the guy who was so angry because somebody hadn't said hello or good day back. But I thought to myself, just like I don't get angry at those people who clearly have suffered physical injuries, so won't I either let myself be angry at those who have so pain in their souls, who feel bad about themselves. That's a great image. Care about trying it out? Souls in pain. We don't get angry at people with physical injuries. Let's not get angry at people with souls in pain. Envy. Don't pain yourself with envy at the successes of your friends. Celebrate them. Imagine having high fives. And practice. Education is more effective than birth for producing noble behavior. I love that conclusion. Hercules plus virtue. Hercules, again, chose the path of virtue. And what about you? Know thyself. What do you want? Do you know whether it's something that will truly make you happy in the long run? Best way to find out? Study philosophy. Study personal development, self-help, ancient wisdom, whatever. Alright, what's the idea that most jumped out at you, resonated with you, made you inspired to take some action? Get clear on that and figure out the first step you're going to take towards embodying the idea a bit more in your life starting today. As always, thank you very much for listening or watching this video. Have another awesome day as we actualize and give our gifts in greatest service to the world. See you.